And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick and Alix Steel here to help take you through the closing bell, a global simulcast. It starts right now. Scarlet Fu joining us in the TV studio. Massar and Tim Stenovec in the radio booth as we welcome our audiences across all of our platforms. That includes our partnership with YouTube. Massar, an interesting day here in the market. Green on the screen if you're in that small cap, mid cap, and cyclical space. But if you're a big tech stock, you're probably in the red.
Right. And this makes us wonder, okay, so when Microsoft reports earnings after the closing bell, is it a different story than what we got from Alphabet last week? Is the AI spend going to show in some of those numbers from Microsoft? When you've got a company that, as our BI team keeps reminding us, is trading at what, 35, 40 times earnings, you've got to show some kind of upside catalyst. Do we get that from Microsoft? Does it change the tone in the tech trade? We will see.
$13.27 billion. That's what analysts are projecting for CapEx spend. We saw what happened last week when Alphabet's Google missed on that number, Scarlett. So we'll see what Microsoft says in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, and the big question is whether Satya Nadella, the CEO, will be more specific in terms of how much AI services contributes to the Azure business. He had said 7 points last time in the third quarter. Does he build on that? Does he give more concrete numbers?
And let's not forget, guys, we have a lot of other earnings coming out. We got AMD, we also have Pinterest, we also have Starbucks, and there's a lot more. And I'm really interested in Starbucks in terms of their pricing ability and the top line, right?
Is that app working again?
Yeah.
What's that?
Is the app working again?
Buy one, get one.
Oh, I heard. That was very upsetting.
Right, and of course that was tied to Microsoft as well. They're going to have to answer a lot of questions here about some of the recent outages on the internet. Let's walk you through the numbers before those earnings hit. A Dow Jones Industrial Average higher on the day, almost 200 points or 0.5% on the day. Meanwhile, the S&P doing the exact opposite, down about 29 points or roughly 0.5%. The Nasdaq lower by 1.3%, and at one point was down almost 10% from its most recent record high. Let's take a look at the Russell 2000. That's holding in the green here on the day, higher fractionally by 0.3%.
All right, real quick check on the S&P 500, guys. You have 340 names actually trending higher in today's session, 161, Scarlett, to the downside.
All right, let's take a look at the sector performances as well. 7 sectors in the green, energy and financials leading the way, each gaining at least 1%. REITs following up with a 0.8% advance, but look at the downside. It's tech. Tech is down 2.2% as a group, and consumer staples and consumer discretionary also losing ground.
All right, guys, Microsoft crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Let's get to some of those key numbers. And you've got Microsoft fourth quarter revenue. Let's go right to the top line, $64.7 billion. So that is a little bit, let's just call it pretty much smack on in terms of what the street was looking for. The estimate was $64.52 billion. Earnings per share, $2.95. And fourth quarter intelligent cloud revenue, always important to this company, $28.52. And that compares with an estimate of $28.72 billion. You've got Microsoft right now down 4% in the aftermarket.
Capital expenditures coming in slightly above estimates, about $13.87 billion to be precise. The street was looking for $13.27, so not really exceeding those expectations by a whole lot, guys. But it'll be interesting to see the market reaction specifically to that expenditure number as you see the shares now continuing to weaken in after-hours trading.
Yeah, down 7% as we speak. Satya Nadella in a statement saying our strong performance this fiscal year speaks both to our innovation and to the trust consumers continue to place in Microsoft. As a platform company, we are focused on meeting the mission-critical needs of our customers across our at-scale platforms today, while also ensuring we lead the AI era.
Yeah, also we should note that Azure and other cloud services revenue growth of 29%, of 30% constant currency. We knew that it was going to be around 30%, but there are a lot of analysts that were saying that it has to at least beat those numbers if it wanted to get a bump in the stock. And you're seeing right now the stock down about 7% after hours trading.
Yeah, so just to recap, I mean, you can say that the revenue and earnings beat or came in line with estimates, but CapEx moved a little bit higher already from a very high base. And as Scarlett just pointed out, the other revenue services for cloud, which includes that AI portion, came in a little bit lighter. So this is exactly what we were talking about, guys, going into the report. They keep spending more, but what they're able to deliver in terms of that profit for AI is coming in a little bit lighter than estimated.
Yeah, and this is where they're going to have to give more commentary and color, if you will, on the call to get an idea of, in terms of the investing or what the spending that is going on and how it is paying off or taking longer to pay off. I mean, this is where you need some more clarity. And this is when you've got a stock that has moved up significantly and you've got a high, PE on it. You want to see really some outperformance here, and either you're going to get it in the commentary or the outlook. That's what I think we're going to have to wait to see if on the call we get it, because right now investors aren't buying it. They're not liking it, and the stock is down 7%.
Okay, revenue once again coming in above estimates at $64.73 billion. Intelligent Cloud revenue coming in below estimates at $28.52 billion. The estimates for $28.72 billion. Productivity and business process revenue did come in above estimates, and more personal computing revenue also coming in above estimates. CapEx again, though, $13.87 billion. Estimates were for $13.27 billion. So that came in a little higher than analysts wanted to see.
And it's actually really being reflected here in the income statement as well as on the balance sheet. When you look at the cost of revenue here on the product side, that cost of revenue is down significantly, almost by about half. But when you look on services and other, and I put that other in quotation marks because we know what it's talking about, jumping almost about 40-something%, if my math is correct, up to about $18 billion.
You also wonder how much they're going to talk about outages in today's earnings call because of what's been happening today, but also in previous weeks with CrowdStrike's update that didn't go too well and took down every computer that seemed to have a certain version of Microsoft Office.
Well, no doubt they're definitely going to get questions on that. And just to keep in mind that we still don't know what their outlook is going to be. They're not going to give us the outlook until we get on the call. So yes, we're seeing Microsoft and other stocks like Amazon getting under pressure, but let's wait for that outlook also.
Have they actually resolved all of these issues? I mean, we talk about, I know the CrowdStrike issue is still kind of being sorted out, but then you had the outage earlier today. I know where there were some headlines saying that they had sort of resolved that, but it gets to the question here as to just how deep this runs.
It also just shows how fragile the ecosystem is. I mean, we saw basically, entire airline crippled for days as a result of this outage. And we
don't forget all the folks at Starbucks who, for some reason, could not get their coffee.
Buy one, get one free.
Apparently, you can't buy coffee unless you have an app.
It was also like a nation, it included parts of Canada.
Which I don't understand how that works. I went into the Starbucks down the way here.
Yeah, CrowdStrike's down 40% from its highs.
Do you not want to hear my Starbucks story, Tim?
Oh, I didn't hear you say that.
Okay, Starbucks earnings are out, by the way.
Yeah, let's take a look at
I do
Starbucks.
want to hear your Starbucks story.
Comp sales down 3%. Analysts were looking for a drop of 2.7%. So not a surprise there because we know the company has been struggling a bit here, both in the U.S. and in China. In terms of U.S. comparable sales, down 2%. Analysts were looking for a drop of 2.1%. China comparable sales down 14%. Analysts were looking for a 10.6% drop. So I guess that feeds into the comp sales number overall being worse than expected. But on the bottom line, adjusted EPS of 93 cents does top the consensus estimate by a penny.
Okay, Starbucks shares up 3.5%. I'm watching shares of Electronic Arts. The company forecasts net bookings for the second quarter of 1.95 to 2.05 billion. That's higher than the estimate, which came in at 1.95 billion. The 2025 year forecast still sees net bookings 7.3 to 7.7 billion. Estimates were for 7.49 billion. The company sees operating cash flow at 2.05 to 2.25 billion. That estimate for $2.08 billion. Shares not really moving in the after hours.
Mondelez out, the big food company here. It looks like a beat all around. The bottom line numbers, EPS adjusted for the second quarter, 86 cents a share. The street was looking for 79 cents. Revenue in the quarter, $8.34 billion. That's a slight miss. The street was looking for about $8.5 billion. But we should point out that operating margins did improve, 17.9% a beat. Gross margins also up 40.5%. That's also a beat. The shares higher by about 1%.
All right, also taking a look at Pinterest here. Adjusted earnings coming in about 29 cents a share. So that was actually better than estimated. Also, the average revenue per user estimate was better than expected. However, the outlook for the third quarter, the range that Pinterest sees now is $885 million to $900 million. The estimate was for $907 million. So a little bit of a disappointment there as well.
Look at those shares.
They might get that impression growth in terms of ad pricing, but ad pricing environment is still quite challenging for the company.
All right, folks, one more we want to get to. Live Nation is crossing as we speak, and let's get to the earnings. Let me pull them up on my Bloomberg. Live Nation crossing, and you're looking at second quarter adjusted operating income, $716.2 million. That's a beat. The estimate is $660.7. Second quarter revenue, smack in line with what the street was expecting, $6.02 billion. And the company also saying the number of fee-bearing tickets, 78.47 million. That's a miss. Estimate is 81.69 million. We're seeing this stock right now unchanged in the aftermarket.
Yeah, kind of interesting, too. I mean, I was looking at the breakdown by actual events here, and they talk about concerts revenue being up. And remember, there was about 8% in the quarter, and there was all this talk about how we were going to see a drop because, of course, the big bump that you got last year because you had two mega concerts with Beyonce and Taylor Swift, and I guess now you only have Taylor Swift on tour. Is she still on tour?
She is.
Yeah.
She's ending it in like a couple months. So.
Forever?
No, just this one time. It can't be forever. My daughter would be so sad.
Is she still dating that football guy?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have time for your Starbucks story, Romaine?
No, I think we're out of time now.
Too bad. We'll have
But
to wait
don't
for a
worry,
while.
I'm coming by the radio booth right after this to regale
Lock the
you.
door. Okay, Starbucks is up 3% in the aftermarket. Microsoft, though, down 7%. All right, guys, that's a wrap. Across platform, radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals, the closing bell. We will see you again, same time, same place tomorrow. And of course, we know Alix is heading out, but Scarlet and Romaine are on TV, and we're going to stay right here on Bloomberg Business Week.